Something that's been huge for me is to pause and to like that space in between the stimulus and the response. Instead of like when I get bad news or something that I don't want to hear or something happens that I don't like, instead of like immediately reacting and going to like, you know this about me because I share this a lot with you, like worst case scenario, all my fears coming out. I've really tried to like pause in that and sit in that discomfort and in that fear and respond differently. Just by like reframing the situation into this isn't rejection, this is alignment, this doesn't mean I'm failing, this means I'm showing up, this discomfort doesn't mean something's wrong, this actually means that I'm growing. You know, just like reframing things that happen that I unexpectedly or that I look at as bad, changing that to something more positive and more like the universe is always working in my favor, or this is just bringing me more into alignment with what I want.
Free to be me, free to sing sweet feathers envelop me like a high.
So much of our lives are shaped by scripts we never consciously chose. Patterns around love, success, safety, and belonging. And at some point, those scripts stop working. What once protected us starts to limit us. Safe to be Seen is a space for honest conversations about that moment, when your body knows it's time for something new. We talk about what it means to build safety first, so growth, intimacy, and expansion don't come at the cost of yourself. This podcast is about updating outdated identities, softening survival patterns, and learning how to stay present through change. We're Darcy and Brandon, and this is Safe to be Seen. Okay, well, we're going to talk about habits today. But we don't want this to be one of what perhaps maybe many discussions about top 10 habits to live a productive, happy life, or top 5 habits that you need to stop doing to step into your true potential. We don't want it to look like that. We want it to be more from a standpoint of identity.
Yeah.
And weave into it what we have learned in our own personal journeys around the importance of the nervous system. And so, yeah, I'll just start with like I used to think that like I could take and install into my life certain habits, and that therefore, by installing those habits, I would become more productive, more efficient, better at whatever, better at living, being a better man, being a better person. But now I know, Darcy, that it goes in reverse, actually. And what I mean is, if you want a better life, if you want to live the kind of life that you were designed to live, be the person that you were designed and created to be, you be that person. And then that person has certain habits. Does that make sense? So you don't focus on the habit.
Yeah.
In other words, it's not the habit that makes the man. It's the man that makes the habit. Of course, you can put woman in there as well. But that's something that's been really important for me to learn. And as I look back at my own personal experience, I realized like when I was grinding through school to become an orthodontist, when I was putting everything that was needed into my building my practice, I had some good habits. I had some really good habits. I was a really hard worker. I was very disciplined in a lot of areas of my life. I actually practiced a lot of discipline. And it's important though for me to see now that the man that I was needing those habits because of the man that I was. Meaning, see if I can make this make sense, is that like my hard work, my being a hard worker was actually just a way for me to escape. My productivity, my being really productive, getting all the good grades, doing all the things I needed to do to be, I guess, what's the word? Qualified to become an orthodontist, to get into the orthodontic school that I wanted to go to, the whole journey, the productivity in my practice, like the money that I was able to make. That was really like looking at that and realizing that productivity was actually a way for me to avoid myself. The discipline, the ways that I was actually very disciplined in a lot of areas of my life, I had to be to get the kind of grades that I got, to get into the kind of schools that I got into, to build the kind of business that I built. But most all of that discipline was lacking embodiment. It was not embodied discipline. So, like, I guess I'm trying to make the point that, like, the man or woman that you are right now, the habits that you have right now as that man or woman make total sense. But you don't focus on the habit first. You focus on who you are.
Yeah.
And then the habits naturally follow.
Yes.
And so I often will just simply ask myself, Darcy, what kind of man do I want to be? And then I will be as honest as I possibly can be with myself and say, okay, that man that you want to be, that man that is energetically aligned with your dream life. And the reason he has his dream life is because he is that man that is aligned with it, that can safely receive it. Would that man have XYZ habits? Whatever they are. And if I look at myself really honestly in that way, that's a really helpful way for me to be in good relationship with my habits.
Yeah, it's so good. And it's so true. Like, your identity drives everything. Your behavior, your habits. Like, if you don't identify as that person, if you are not being that person, then habits will just feel forced.
Yeah.
It's like you spoke of, the habits that you were doing, getting through dental school, ortho school, building your practice, they were good habits, but the energy behind them led you to burnout. And I also, like, I don't know, I have a different opinion about discipline. I don't really, for myself personally, like to use the word discipline in my life. I like to use the word devotion, because I feel like discipline is coming from a place of lack, in a way of like, it just feels like kind of forced, and like the energy behind, I've got to be disciplined, But devotion is like, I'm devoted to this, like, because I love my body, I love my life, I love my purpose, I love where I'm going. I'm devoted to that. I feel like it just changes the energy behind that.
Can I give you an update on how I now define discipline? I agree with you. I think discipline can be just another way to force and control and overwork and escape yourself, because you're disciplined. No matter what, you're going to show up. Maybe your body's screaming to you, no, you're not working out today. Like, take a break. You need a break.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I'm disciplined. I'm going. You go to the gym and you end up hurting yourself or something,
Yeah.
But my new updated definition of discipline you might like. You ready?
Yeah.
To be disciplined, I now view as to be a disciple to oneself.
Yeah, I've heard that before. I love that.
So
yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it. But
I see what you're saying.
yeah. And I think, being a disciple to yourself is,
That's devotion. That's
it's
another word.
devotion. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But, and I think it's also important to differentiate between like, what is the difference between a habit and a pattern? Because they can I feel like they can get blended. It's your patterns that are creating your habits. So if you have a pattern of being avoidant and just numbing your way through life, your habits are going to be doom scrolling, overeating, like anything to get me to reinforce that pattern. So I think it's important to differentiate between like a pattern and a habit, and that by changing your patterns, your habits will naturally change.
Yes. You said that so much better than I. That's what I was trying to say is like, you can't, the habit doesn't come first. For example, if I see someone, and this isn't, I'm not casting judgment. I'm simply painting a picture of hopefully helping to understand what I'm trying to say is, if I see someone, let's say like doom scrolling on their phone at the dinner table at a restaurant with their entire family there, but they're on their phone, like just doom scrolling instead of like maybe engaging with their loved ones and being present. It's got like, I don't know, let's say I don't know that person at all, but I already would know about them, that habit of doom scrolling makes perfect sense, because most likely they are in a state of survival. They're not in a state of connection, right? And so when you're in any sort of survival state, you're going to have certain habits that just come with that, and they make sense. And so if you want to change your habits, don't focus on the behavior, focus on the identity. By focusing on the identity of the man or woman that you desire to be, the life that you desire to live, and becoming, and actually, as we talk all the time, unbecoming, so that you can step into that, naturally, habits are going to follow that align perfectly with that type of life and that type of person.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's so helpful to become very clear on what you want and who you want to be. And the being comes before the wanting. Be, do, have. And if you don't have like this vision of what you want your life to look like, what you want your life to feel like, you can kind of get lost in this like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what habits to take on. I don't know like how to show up in the world. You can kind of feel like you're being tossed, and it's okay if that's like your space there for a while as you're like trying to figure your life and your vision out, but maybe don't focus exactly on like an exact vision, though I think that's helpful. But if you don't have that yet, just focus on who you want to be, or just focus on how you want to feel every day. How do I want to feel in my life? Do I want to feel accomplished? Do I want to feel healthy? Do I want to feel in love? How do you want to feel, and work to create those feelings in your life right now without having those things yet? But what other things in your life give you those feelings of love, of accomplishment, those things that you want, which will help like align you with the frequency of those things that you want. But so speaking of habits, Brand, with this, like who you want to be, what habits do you feel like are the most like life-changing for you in this time? And I would say habits change like depending on where you're going in your life, what your goals are. But right now, like what have been some of your most, I mean, you have changed a lot of habits.
Yeah.
So
what
have been some of the most life-changing ones for you?
Oh yeah, thanks for that. That's a good question. I mean, I was, in preparing for this episode, I thought about, even though we didn't want to be like, here's our list of 10 habits that you should do to be happier. We wanted it to be more about educating and talking about our own experience in regards to our nervous systems and our like changing our way of being, so that then like our habits naturally got better. That's more of the take we want. But I will say I did still put some time and thought into habits. both maybe bad ones that I let go of and good ones that I've implemented. And the list was so long, Darce. It really like hit me that like, wow, I've changed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I just tried to like, because I could go on and on about like going to bed early, waking up early, my daily movement routine, which consists of resistance training, mind body movements, yoga, stretching, like all the things,
Mhm.
walk, cold plunging, sauna, you know,
All your
but-
self-care
but
routines.
the list is so long. So what I did is I kind of just to answer your question,
Mm-hmm.
I would say that my habits, both, like I said, the old, maybe not as good a habits dropping away and dying,
Mm-hmm.
and the good habits being implemented, I say almost they have like the biggest ones, the most influential ones, the most impactful ones for me have mostly been related to how I relate to myself.
Mm.
So, for example, the way that I talk to myself, like old me lived in such, I was in such deep survival state and unknowingly, of course, was so hard on myself. The way that I spoke to myself, it was abusive. You're no good. You're not worthy of love.
Mm.
On and on and on. The ways that I literally like the voice in my head. And so one important thing that I've changed, the habit that I now have, is speaking to myself positively. And like literally, I will speak to myself out loud. And you think about like when you catch a child talking to herself, how beautiful that is actually. Like so cute. Well, we're just big children,
Mm-hmm.
but we stop talking to ourselves. We stop talking to ourselves, and we stop talking to ourselves in a positive way, and it usually becomes all negative. And so, yeah, I try to speak positively about myself, to myself, about my body, to my body. I try to like express gratitude, love, appreciation, and really just making that little change from talking so negatively all the time about myself to flipping it to be positive.
That's huge because your cells are listening to everything that you say.
Yeah.
Your cells are alive,
Yeah.
and neurons that fire together, wire together, and create a neural pathway. So
Yeah.
your thoughts, like, they're a big deal.
Yeah.
The thoughts that you continually entertain and the way that you speak to yourself day in and day out,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, what I found, Darcy, why this is such a huge habit for me in a very, very positive way is because your nervous system does not know the difference between real and perceived
Mm-hmm.
threat. It's crazy the power that we hold. Simply by talking positively, thinking positively, literally speaking positively about ourselves, of course, about anything and anyone, but like I said, I found like 95% of my suffering has been at my own hands.
Mm.
You know, you hear the saying, the mountain is you. But I know that to be true. Like I am my own greatest enemy, have been at least historically. And it has been such a huge change in my life to just change the way that I reference myself, the way that I talk about myself, talk to myself. Big one.
It's huge. And when you hear those nasty, mean, limiting thoughts come in, like you have a moment right there to pause and to change it
Mm-hmm.
and to not like continually feed off of that and create stories about that, but to be like, no, that's probably a younger part of you that's still living in those fears and those false limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
You get to come in as like your adult higher self and be like, that's not true.
Yeah.
This is what's actually true.
How about you?
Yeah.
What's a habit that you have either let go of or that you now see as just a function of the woman that you are now,
Yeah.
and that has been hugely beneficial to you, but is intimately connected to your identity?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say, especially since like doing the work, the inner work, the nervous system work, my own transformation journey, is a lot of my habits now are organized around my physiology,
Mm-hmm.
because your physiology creates your psychology. And a lot of people are doing these habits for mindset, like I want a better mindset, without realizing that your mindset is determined by what's happening inside of your body.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of my habits now I gear toward the intention behind that is with that in mind, that my physiology is creating my psychology. So what does my physiology look like, and how can I create habits that are going to like up level my physiology?
Mm.
That's going to like basically like upgrade myself, upgrade my internal blueprint, so that my mindset is more clear and more focused and more open. Something that's been huge for me is to pause and to like that space in between the stimulus and the response. Instead of like when I get bad news or something that I don't want to hear, or something happens that I don't like, instead of like immediately reacting and going to like, and you know this about me, because I share this a lot with you, like worst case scenario, all my fears coming out. I've really tried to like pause in that and sit in that discomfort and in that fear and respond differently. Just by like reframing the situation into, this isn't rejection, this is alignment. This doesn't mean I'm failing. This means I'm showing up. This discomfort doesn't mean something's wrong. This actually means I'm growing. You know, just like reframing things that happen that I unexpectedly or that I look at as bad, changing that to something more positive and more like, universe is always working in my favor, or this is just bringing me more into alignment with what I want. You've been really good at helping me with that lately. But even in moments of like frustration with the kids, or if me and you get in an argument, like I really have been trying to practice like that pause. And it's a practice of mindfulness, but like really a true mindfulness practice is like dropping into the body.
Yeah.
You know, they did a study on monks at Harvard University, monks who are like literally the most intelligent people on the planet. And they studied their brain activity as they were meditating for hours. They literally had zero to no brain activity. But they're some of the most intelligent people on earth, and it's because they're so deeply embodied in their body. And it's that to me is a practice of mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's really happening in this moment? What story am I telling myself that is actually causing me more harm and more frustration? You know, so just the practice of mindfulness in and of itself has made a big difference in my health and in my physiology. So that one's been really big for me.
I love it.
Yeah.
Something that I have found to just accompany, again, to our point of like, you don't say, well, I'm going to do these habits and these habits are going to turn me into this person.
Mm-hmm.
You be the person, and then
Yeah.
those habits just naturally come. And one of those for me, Darcy, has been to replace fear with wonder.
That's so good.
And so like when I feel fear in the past, that fear would grip me. It would determine my actions, my words. It was in the driver's seat of my life. And now when I feel fear, I now know fear is like one of my greatest teachers. And so I welcome the fear. And I get really curious about why the fear is there. And I begin to, instead of, for example, feeling fear about feeling overwhelmed, I look at it and I say, what is the wisdom in my overwhelm? Why am I feeling overwhelmed? You know, and get really curious about that. That's what I mean by replacing fear with wonder. Like really wondering, really being genuinely curious instead of shoving it aside, repressing it, suppressing it, pretending it doesn't exist. No, see, that's the old Brandon. The old Brandon didn't realize that emotions were meant to be felt. They were part of his human experience. Because he was so separated and disconnected from his heart and his feeling and his emotions that there was the old Brandon did everything he could possibly do to avoid feeling. But now new Brandon like wants to know, why am I feeling this way? What does this mean for me? And that's been a big one.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
It's really good, babe. I've seen that in you, for sure. It's awesome. Another one for me is telling uncomfortable truths. I've never like been a liar, but I have like suppressed truths out of fear of losing connection, losing like, approval. So like being like telling people I don't like that, or I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Or I'm not okay with that, or actually having a different opinion about that. That's been hard for me. Not just being agreeable with what everybody says, but being able to, in a mature, healthy way, like express a different opinion, or, I'm tired, I want to go to bed, or I don't feel good. Like not make excuses for like the way that I'm feeling. Just say I'm not. Like I realize that like if I was sick or if I didn't feel good or whatever, I would apologize for it.
Yeah.
Because I'm so sorry, like I couldn't make dinner tonight, I don't feel good. Instead of just being, I don't feel good. Like, why do I have to apologize for our humanity?
You know? You just think you do. 'Cause
I
you wanna
know.
maintain connection.
Yeah, so like telling the uncomfortable truths of like, and I've been intentional about that. Like there've been conversations, not directly with me, that affect me, that I've thought about like, I'm just not gonna say anything. I'll just like, lay low. It's not a big deal. And, you get to be conscious of like what's a big deal to you or not. But I noticed like the energy behind it, these things were like bothering me. So I was like, no, I'm gonna have this conversation with this person. Like I want them to know how I feel about this. And the more you practice it, the easier it becomes at using your voice, setting boundaries, not apologizing for your human existence. So yeah, telling the uncomfortable truths. That's been a habit of mine that I've been trying to work on. It's becoming easier.
You're doing so good at it.
Thanks.
Yeah. It's so good to know exactly what you're feeling and thinking instead of you just always being so nice and so agreeable. Everyone loves Darcy because she always says exactly what they want to hear.
Yeah.
And now everyone loves Darcy because you're speaking your truth.
Thanks.
And it's awesome.
Yeah, it's been so freeing actually to know that like I can still maintain connection with people while also speaking my truth, and it's, and I mean in our own relationship, like it's brought such deeper intimacy between you and I.
Yeah.
Because we've had these conversations before where it's like, if you want all of me, you need to be able to handle all of me, not just the good, pleasant, agreeable, kind me, but like you need to be able to also be with the rage and the fears and the emotional, like all my whole emotional range. And why that brings deeper intimacy? Because you want the fullest expression of me in all forms. It translates in the bed translates in so many areas of relationships.
Yeah.
And that's why self-abandonment, we talked about that in a couple episodes ago. That's why it's so harmful for intimacy. Because you can't just choose, like if you shut down one emotion, you're shutting down all of your emotions. You can't just like pick and choose, you know? You're shutting down like all parts of yourself.
Yeah, and your partner doesn't get to know the real you.
Yeah.
So I think it's really, really cute when you get angry now. I think it's so cute.
Don't laugh at me when I get mad.
I think it's hilarious.
Why?
I don't know. You're so funny when you get mad.
Because that's I can't even fully get really mad.
Yeah. And it's like, it's like, I love knowing how you really feel, you know?
Yeah.
And, but you're right, to your point, man, it's really important to understand that, like, being a human being, one of the, I think it's fair to say, I'm going out on a limb here maybe and making some assumptions, but I feel like most all human beings have the desire to have joy. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you cannot feel a fullness of joy if you are suppressing all these other emotions. You have to understand that the way that this human body works is you can only feel the depth of joy proportional to the depth of pain and suffering and despair and any other emotion, grief, anger, that you have allowed yourself to feel. That's how much joy you can handle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how much joy you can receive. And that's how much joy you can feel.
Yeah.
So
that's why feeling becomes such a blessing, actually, in disguise.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so afraid of feeling that. I don't want to feel that. But then you feel it and you realize, I'm okay. I'm good. I'm safe. I'm still here.
Okay.
But then, like the what do you call like that word where you're like experiencing the opposite?
The contrast.
The contrast. But there was another word I was looking for. I can't think of it right now. But
Yeah,
when you get to feel that opposite, the contrast, it's like it's so much more profound and enjoyable.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like,
what's in the? Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna keep going on this.
No.
Like, you can't feel a full measure of pleasure unless you have felt like the full grief that you need to feel, the full sadness, the full anger that you need to feel.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden your body can open up and you can feel this immense pleasure that you're like, whoa, where did that come from? It's because you're finally letting yourself feel.
Yeah. That's why people speak of like the wild feminine coming out. Like a woman connected to her rage is going to have a lot of good orgasms. Just put that out there.
Just saying.
Just saying.
All right. Well, good to know. Men are going to be wanting their women to be all angry and raging all the time now.
Lettered.
Well, should we do what, one or two more?
Yeah.
Each? One thing that has really come along for the ride for me too, Darce, as I've been working on getting to know myself better and letting go of the things that are not really me and transforming, has been to not take things personal. I'm not perfect at it, but you talk about contrast, in stark contrast to old me, who literally believed that everyone was against him, right? That there was threat everywhere. And I found it because I was scanning for it. And, that's a topic for another day. We've talked about that at great lengths, about how you create your reality based on like what your nervous system is looking for. Anyway, now I rarely take anything personal. I now see, of course, if I have hurt someone, I take accountability for it. I try to and apologize and fix it, however I can. But now I know for the most part that other people's emotions and other people's reactions, or the way that other people see me or judge me, is really just a reflection of them. And it's not to discount. It's not to like be flippant and not care. Like I said, if I'm in the wrong, I try to own it and take care of it. But most of suffering is self-induced.
Yeah.
And so
So
it's just
true.
really, it's been really, really helpful and important for me to now operate from a place. And I call it a habit, because whenever something happens to me that could be, let's just say, for example, I'm driving down the road and someone cuts me off or does something crazy, where old me would have wanted to make sure they knew that I was not happy, whether a gesture or whether, whatever. New me is like, that has nothing to do with me. Like, that's because of, like, they're stressed, or they're in survival mode, or they're in a hurry. They're running to an emergency maybe. Who knows what's going on in their world, but it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
You know?
Goes back to the stories we tell ourselves.
So yeah, really trying hard to take nothing personally is a habit that has just naturally accompanied my transformation.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's so important. Such a good one. Another one of mine would be, and you already spoke to this starting out the episode, but like starting out my day, instead of like thinking of like my to-do list, instead of like what's my to-be list, like being intentional about who I want to be that day. I want to be love. I want to be compassion. I want to be strong. I want to be connected. And then like you said, the habits follow that. But I still like to-do lists. I still like seeing the things that I need to do. But I've started focusing, like waking up in the morning, and instead of like starting out my day in survival mode, thinking about all the things that I need to do, thinking about all the stress going on, or I try to take a minute just to like breathe and center, ground. Like, mornings are so sacred to me.
Yeah, they're the best.
They're the most sacred time of day. It's like that time that, instead of like, I feel like throughout all the rest of the day, you're like doing a lot of output.
Yeah.
Like, you're giving a lot, you're working, you're outputting a lot. And the morning time is like that sacred time to like input and like receive.
Yeah.
And like set your intentions for the day and start out your day with like who you want to be, and then act off of that the whole entire day. It really changes the whole entire energy of the whole entire day. Like, just like journaling and being intentional and nourishing yourself.
That's beautiful.
So
yeah, like throughout most of the day, it seems like you're in situations where you need to be reactive to whatever's going on. Where in the morning, if you create it that way, it can be you're in creation mode. Like, you are creating your day the way you want it to be. That's awesome. Very well put.
Yeah, it's been a good one for me. Before we go on, I want to share a resource with you. Many people ask me how to actually start working with their nervous system in a practical way, especially if they feel stuck, anxious, or disconnected from themselves. So I created my somatic repatterning audios as a place to begin. They're designed to guide your body into safety and help shift the patterns that keep you looping, not through force, but through real embodied change. If that feels supportive for you, the link is in the show notes. Okay, back to the episode.
As we've established, it's the nervous system that determines what kind of habits a person has. For example, a dysregulated person may have great habits, like good habits, like discipline, organization, all these habits that appear to be good. But if it's coming from a person with a dysregulated nervous system, those habits will be forced, right? They'll be just another way of trying to control.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. They're still underneath the surface. They're still causing inflammation.
Yeah.
They're causing burnout. They're causing a lot of harm on your inner world.
Exactly.
And like another example of this, and sorry, were you going?
No, I just want to make the distinction that it's the nervous system is what is going to determine your habits.
Yeah.
And it's the nervous system that determines your, like, who you are.
Yeah.
And your identity. And so I just wanted to just touch on that, like, you can have good habits, but if the good habits are with a dysregulated nervous system, it's kind of it's a facade, kind of. And still, you can create some good things, some great things. You can. I did this. Like I said, my story was being hyper productive, overworking, very disciplined in regards to my academics and my professional career and business. But it resulted in burnout because it was coming from a place of like force and still like trying to control through these habits. And versus like when you've got a regulated nervous system, a healthy regulated nervous system, habits become natural, right? Discipline doesn't require force. And like
Devotion doesn't require force, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Depending on your definition, but like it just comes so naturally. And you're operating from alignment instead of survival. And so I just wanted to make that distinction, but like you have to understand the role of your nervous system in this, and don't try to put the cart before the horse. Don't try to think that it's the habits that's going to regulate your nervous system, or it's the habits that you're going to implement into your life that's going to make you become a certain person and have a certain life.
Yeah.
It works the exact opposite.
Absolutely. It's the being underneath everything. So just for like an example, let's say as a younger girl, maybe you got shamed or your parents made a point to say something to you about gaining weight. And you internalize that as a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, embarrassment. Like, oh, my body needs to look a certain way in order to be okay. So then you go to the gym like rigorously, or you develop an eating disorder. But let's say you're going to the gym and like you have to show up to the gym, and you are like overworking yourself, overproving yourself. You're lifting more than you should, so you're getting more injuries. Like you're having to like prove yourself in a way to maintain this like outside image, but on the inside you are dying inside. And that's why like I hate it when you look at somebody and like they seem on the outside to like they look trim, they look fit, they have muscles, and they're like, oh, that person must be good, like they must be healthy and happy. No. And that's what you said, like your inner world is way more important. Like what's the why behind what you're doing that is going to drive, because like obviously going to the gym every day is not bad, it's great. But what's your why behind it? It's usually rooted in some belief that formulated in your younger years that drove you to do those types of behaviors and those types of things that is causing so much inner turmoil within inside of yourself.
Yeah, it's so true. So I would say like we need to flip the whole conversation on its head if we haven't already made that clear, and realize that it's not, you shouldn't ask like, what habits should I build? You should ask, what, in the case of me or a man, what kind of man lives in a way that has those habits, right? If you flip it on its head, because habits will not, you can have the best habit, but if again you're coming from a place of dysregulation or survival or pressure, force, control, it won't stick. It won't fully land. It will not stick around for very long.
Yeah. Did you ever read the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People?
Yeah.
Do you know what that?
Yeah, I've read it. It's been a while.
I never read it. I've heard of it. But I think like to just reinforce that point, if like somebody were to read that book and they have a lot of inner turmoil, they're incredibly dysregulated, they're in survival mode, and they try to install those habits on a dysregulated body, it's not going to work
No, it's
out.
not gonna
I think
work.
that's what the point we're trying to say
Yeah.
is like your being should come first. The state of your being matters more than the habits you're trying to build upon an already dysregulated body. And usually when you're dysregulated in your survival mode, you shouldn't be adding more. You should be adding less, actually, to create more capacity within yourself, to create more space, to make room for those habits to come in.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like when you're clearing out your home to make space for, you got to clear out like the junk and the dirt and the things that you don't want anymore to create space for more like beautiful things or updated furniture or whatever it is, you know, like cleaning out physical space, cleaning out like that internal space within inside of yourself so that those habits can actually land inside of a body to make them beneficial for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if I get vulnerable and share a personal experience about, the time in my life, Darcy, when the depression was so dark, the burnout so heavy, that even being an orthodontist, you can attest to this, you witnessed it firsthand. I went through a pretty good chunk of time not having appropriate and healthy habits as it related to my oral health, to my teeth. I started developing these habits. Again, habits which naturally magnetized to the man that I was at the time. A man in deep, dark depression. A man severely burned out. So what were my habits at night? Fall asleep to TV late at night while eating food. And eventually over time, with enough of that happening, even though I was trained professionally to know exactly what's going on inside my mouth and the damage that's occurring to my teeth, I didn't care. And so ironically, here I am, an orthodontist with everything from the outside looking in, appearing straight, aligned, clean, just the way it should be. When on the inside, I am a mess.
Yeah.
And just like, symbolic of that, like my teeth, I was taking care of everyone else's teeth, making sure they were great and healthy and aligned and perfect while neglecting my own. And I ended up with a lot of significant dental disease. And, more to come on that. I'll be sharing a lot more details about that and many other very vulnerable and like very personal things along my journey in the book that I'm writing.
So excited for that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just, I realized, man, these habits that I had, of course I had them. Of course. That was the guy that I was.
The beliefs that you had about yourself at the time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so it's not
what did you think you identified as the time? Because do you think you like consciously identified as somebody who was depressed to create those habits?
No. I think it just happens.
Who do you think you identified as at that time? Have you ever thought about that?
What do you mean?
Because you were talking about how identity creates habits.
Oh.
So what do you think you identified as
Well,
at that time?
I mean, at that time, in the darkest of dark times for me, it was the belief that I was unlovable.
Mm,
It was the belief that I wasn't worthy of love. I wasn't worthy of, like, I could never just be myself and be fully accepted.
mm,
So yeah, I created that identity. That was my creation. I love that man,
mm-hmm,
but he just didn't see himself.
mm-hmm,
He didn't love himself. And so he treated his body accordingly.
mm-hmm,
He didn't care.
mm-hmm,
He cared about other people's teeth and their happiness and their confidence in their smile, and while his were rotting away.
mm-hmm.
So those are the habits that I naturally just had because that was the man that I was. And so I would just, again, if listeners, if you get nothing out of this episode, just please take this away. And that is it. Do not ask, what habits should I build or install into my life? Ask, what kind of person do I want to be?
Mm-hmm.
And then those habits they will naturally come.
Mm-hmm.
They will be a part of you because you are that person. Um, Anything else you want to add?
No, I think that was really beautiful to end on. Like,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that vulnerable story. I know that you haven't, I think you've ever shared that publicly actually ever before. So
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah, thank you. I would maybe just, if I can, end with just a simple practice for people to do.
yeah.
And that is just to simply identify one habit. Like you and I always talk about, like, when you're going through transformation and rewiring and like nervous system work,
Mm-hmm.
you got to take it slow, guys. And you really should get some help. This woman is amazing. But just take one habit, good or bad, doesn't matter. Just identify one habit that keeps repeating all the time, good or bad. Okay? And then just simply, once you've identified that habit, ask yourself this question: what version of me is that habit reinforcing?
Mm.
And then once you've done that, ask yourself this question: what would the embodied version of me, the version of me that is that man or woman who has their dream life, what would that person be doing? What habits would that person have?
That's awesome.
That's just a really simple practice.
Yeah.
Identify a habit, ask which version of you is that habit reinforcing, and then spin it on its head and say, if I were to be my fully embodied, authentic self, free, I am free, how would that man move?
Mm. That's so good and so helpful. And there's actually like a lot of behavioral science to back that up for doing that. And that is that you need to give your psyche, you need to show yourself, if I continue with these habits, with these patterns, with these behaviors, where is my life going to go? And really take a good look at that. And then compare that with, but if I change and if I install new beliefs about myself, if my identity changes and I'm being somebody different, and I create new habits and patterns based on that, where's my life gonna go? It's really good for your brain to be able to see the difference, to be able to see like, I don't want that. Because I think when you're in survival mode and you're just running on automation, you don't have that, like capacity in your prefrontal cortex to be able to like clearly see your future. Cause you're just like, I'm just surviving day to day. But when you can get to a point of like taking a very good, clear look at your life as it is right now, and if I continue doing the same things that I'm doing, where's my life gonna go? Compared to like, no, if I do the inner work and I create these changes, this is what's possible for me. So that's awesome. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So you don't rise to the level of your habits. Your habits rise to the level of who you believe you are. Yeah.
Amen.
Amen. Thanks, babe.
Thank you.
Free to be me, free to sing, sweet feathers and let me like a